Let's be real for a second. It's not always said out loud, but there's a quiet, awkward tension in a lot of school theater programs, and any other fine arts programs for that matter. You felt it, I felt it, that low-key divide between cast and crew. Like two separate teams working on the same show, but not with each other. Today on Soundstage EDU, we're talking about how to break that wall down, not with trust falls or drama games or kumbaya circle time, but with intentional choices that build culture, connection, and a shared sense of purpose. Now, I know when we first started, we were real heavy into theater, and I'm starting to kind of transition to include more of the fine arts in your programs. Inclusivity, that thing I keep bringing up. We're trying to be more inclusive for the arts because the arts are for everyone. Everyone's included. And I had started this the other day. In fact, I had completely recorded it. And then when I went back to edit it, it sounded terrible. And I come to find out that when I went to record, I didn't turn on my good mic. And I was just recording off of the onboard microphone in the computer, which picked up the fan and every other noise in the room. It was just awful. So we're going to start over here. Perhaps I'm not a superstitious person, but I guess being in theater, I'm supposed to be a little bit superstitious. So maybe that was the karma gods, if you will, encouraging me to do this again, to think about it a little bit more, maybe to have a little more insight. And maybe I do, because when I did this before, I pretty much went straight off my notes. And I'm not going to do that so much this time. They'll guide me, but I'm not going to use it as the Bible, if you will, in this situation. Because, like I said at the beginning there, the low-key divide between cast and crew. Now, that's me staying true to the more theatrical roots that we have here, a cast and a crew. But what about the other fine arts ensembles? Does this happen there as well? Yes, it does. I've been there. It's the drumline versus the winds. It's the guard versus the drumline. It's the sopranos versus the tenors. We've all felt it. There's this divide that makes us believe we're different factions, if you will, within the same organization. And we seem to have separate goals instead of one unified goal of producing a really good show. And that's what we want to talk about today. That's the wall that we want to destroy. That's the divide we want to address. The problem of we versus them isn't always obvious. A lot of theater kids, a lot of band kids, a lot of choir kids, a lot of us don't even realize that we're doing it. There's a subtle separation. With the theater, it's the actors on one side of the wings, techs on the other. One group getting applause and the other staying in the dark. One eating cupcakes at the cast party and the other eating cold pizza during strike. It's not malicious. It really isn't. It's not dramatic, but it is cultural. And culture, when ignored, calcifies. I am going to focus on the theater kids a little bit more because that's where we started. And I'll interject for the other ensemble so we all feel included here. But tech students pick up on this fast. And when the cues you are getting from the other side are, hey, stay out of the green room. Hey, don't touch the props. Or, my favorite, can you just be invisible? And here's where that really stings, because we teach them that. We teach them to be invisible, and you guys picked up on it. And that's going to be kind of a focus there moving forward. Things we say. Modeling. Can you just be invisible? Because me, as their tech mentor, that is something I say a lot. I will say things like, hey, if we're doing our job right, nobody knows we're here. Because everybody knows when we screw up. Everybody sees it. Everybody hears it. One of the two things. Everybody knows. So be invisible. That's modeled behavior that we have taught, and it's something we need to unteach. It's something we need to address. But when you're hearing those cues as a tech kid, you start to believe your value in being invisible. We don't want you to be invisible. We don't want you to feel invisible. And I mean, those examples, they seem a bit extreme. But throughout my life, I've heard exactly those statements, and even some that are worse. And I'm just going to say it, that mindset is a fast track to burnout, low morale, and students walking away from theater altogether. Or when it goes from ensemble to or section to section within an ensemble, that's a quick fast track to them never coming back the next season, and putting up their instrument and giving up on an art that we know will change most of our lives. It's super subtle, but super toxic, and present in virtually every program I've ever been around. I honestly don't know why I've never said anything about this, but like most of you tech kids, or most of you, nice kids, as fine arts kids are nice kids, I always felt it was not my place to actually say anything. I was always told to be quiet. That's the way I was brought up. My generation of better to be seen than heard, that's toxic, and that's not the way we should be raising our kids these days, but that's the way I was raised. Seen and not heard. So that's exactly what I did up until now. That's why we're addressing this now. We're going to take this head on together. We're going to face the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about something that most of us never want to talk about, because none of us like confrontation. We want everything to be happy and low stress and low tension, because why? The fine arts are stressful and full of tension. We don't want to voluntarily add more stress and tension to our lives, but that's part of life and it's there. But we versus them, that's something we can tackle, but it's not always obvious. So back to the theater. What makes the tech kids feel valued? Let's flip that. We saw what was happening. Now what makes them feel valued? What makes them feel seen, appreciated, respected? And this can go from section to section within an ensemble. What can we do to make sure everyone feels seen, appreciated, and respected? If you're in the marching band and you're in the drum line, it doesn't matter that you can't hear the woodwinds. In fact, when you're in the drum line, you can't hear anything. All you hear is yourself and maybe a couple of people around you in your section. Don't make the freshmen playing the flute feel undervalued. Don't make them feel like their part's not important, because I guarantee you, when you're in the stands and you can hear that, it is important. Every player is important. Every vocal section in the choir is important. Don't care who has the melody or who carries the body of the melody or who, whatever. They're all important. When there's a hole, and nobody likes it. Especially your judges. Nobody likes a hole. So what will make the kids in the theater, or even an ensemble, feel seen, appreciated, and respected? Number one, involvement in the process, not just the outcome. So in the theater, don't wait until the week before the tech week comes to bring your crew in. Let them hear the vision early. Bring them into the pre-production meetings. Bring them into the line readings. Ask for their ideas. These shows are, after all, for them. So maybe you should get their input as an ancillary audience of what do you guys think here. Make them part of the storytelling. Make them part of the visual representation of the storytelling, not just the logistics. Number two, acknowledgement, both public and private. Call them out during the curtain speech. Thank them in the group text. privately look them in the eye and say, that was a hard cue and you nailed it. Or just a simple, I appreciate you. You are important to this show. You are important to this program. That kind of a moment, that sticks. That changes a kid. Number 3, autonomy with trust. Let them run the board. Let them solve the problem. You taught them something, let them run with it. If a problem arises, let them figure it out. Don't jump in there. Don't try to take the opportunity away from them by rescuing them. You know, we want to do that, especially as adults and professionals, educators. We want to jump in and save the day. Why don't you let the kids save the day? If you're an older student, you want to jump in and show the younger student that you know how to do it better. Why not let them, well, I'll speak your language. Why don't you let them fall on their face? Let them fail. And then pick them up. But trust them with that failure, because in that failure is going to come their greatest lesson in most cases. That's what I've always learned, and that's what I believe. So let them solve the problem, even if it takes a little longer, even if it's not how you would have done it. Let them develop their own process. And maybe you could help bolster that process with some tidbits from your process. The trust is worth more than the speed. The trust is worth more than anything. Trust them. And 4, equal access to the fun stuff. This sounds silly, but equal access to the fun stuff. Tech deserves t-shirts. They may not want them because they're programmed to not want them, but tech deserves t-shirts. Tech deserves the cast party. They act like they don't want to go, but trust me, deep down they do. I was there. I know. Tech deserves inside jokes and silly bonding moments too. They don't have to always be so dadgum serious. Even though I'm the first one to say that what we do is serious business. I love to tell the kids, I love to tell the guys that I work with in my full-time job that, hey, we're not building rocket ships. And we're not. But I do approach it with that kind of seriousness sometimes. And it's a little much. But a production team is a team. From cast to tech. Don't just say it. Build it. Which brings me to the cast and crew is being one team. So here's where it gets good and hard. Because the culture shift doesn't come from tech alone. It doesn't come from this section or that section alone. It comes when directors, actors, ensemble members, student leaders, seniors, juniors, a vibrant freshman. It happens when they start building the bridge. But somebody's got to move the first stone into place. So here's some communication tips for better cast and crew relationships. And we'll adapt this to some other things if it doesn't seem natural, but we'll figure this out. Use names. My goodness. This is really prevalent in theater. I mean, in band, everybody knew each other's name. I don't know how, but we did. I'm the worst with names. I forget names all the time, which will really lead me to why I'm bringing this up. But Tech2Cast tip, use names. If you're running crew, learn the actors' names. Not just Belle or Ariel or the guy in red, chef number 2. Personal connection breaks down walls fast. And I really want to stick on this one for a minute because I thought it was funny before I realized that it was actually a problem. But I thought it was pretty funny that I was remembering everybody by their character. I would even label the board that way because I couldn't remember their names because honestly, I'm getting older and being 250 feet away, it's hard to see the faces on the stage. And that was my excuse. And I would just use their character names because the character was obvious by their lines, by their costume, which you can make out from that far away, even when you have failing eyes. But maybe that would help me when I was building the mix. But it didn't also need to be the case when I was down there miking the kids or giving notes at the end of the day. I could have addressed them by their names, but I didn't. And I've always kind of sat on that pretty heavily, that, hey, I remember the characters and I would proudly say, well, I'll never remember their names. That's not okay. That's not okay for anybody. Not a crew member, not a director, not a mentor, not someone from the outside coming in to help. Learn the names. To the cast a tech tip. Say thank you. If you're running, say it after a run through. Say it during strike. Say it when a mic swap saves your scene. In these situations, your gratitude is glue. Gratitude is the attitude that we want. Be thankful. And I hear you kids say thank you a lot. I know you can say it. I know it's not a foreign concept. I know it's not poison in your mouth. I've always loved that about theater kids, this culture. And I don't know where it comes from, but this thank you culture to when an instruction is given, or, say a fly rail is moving and someone calls that out. Trust coming in. Thank you, trust coming in. Let's reset scene one. Thank you, scene one. You guys are great at that. So instead of those loud shout outs, those loud thank yous, turn them into personal interactions. I changed your mic during a quick swap because one of the A2s wasn't able to be there. Or it doesn't matter. Say, I'm just one of the kids swapping mics for you. And you say, thank you, Mike. Did you use my name? You said thank you. I'm going to remember you. Those little interactions are important. It's our culture building. To the director. We mentioned this earlier. Here's your director tip. Model respect. If a director talks about tech as an equal part of the production, the students will follow. If the band director talks about the drumline as a musical contribution to the ensemble, everyone will start to treat them that way. If the marching band director points out that the flutes are indeed important, the ensemble will begin to believe that because it's true. But if a director ignores or devalues them, the kids pick up on that too. I'm not going to go into any more detail on that. I'm not going to point out examples of where I might have heard this happen in my past. Just know that your behavior will be modeled by the students. So moving on to shared rituals. You know what I'm talking about. There's cast hype before the show. There's a circle. Opening night circle. I've seen the cast in a circle, but I didn't see a single member from crew. The crew should be in there. Include the crew. Group warm up. Invite the booth. They're sitting on their butts. Let them come and warm up with you. Shared space equals shared purpose. No longer should there be cast hype and tech hype. They need to be unified. They need to be done together. This is one show, not two separate aspects of a show, getting two separate performance metrics when you're getting judged or adjudicated or you're in a contest, whatever. I know that some of these groups are competitive. And yes, I know that they segregate the judging. That's how you separate. That's how you judge. You just have different things. But that doesn't mean you're separate entities. You're the same. Your superior rating can live and die on the other sections, the other components of your production, the other parts of your program, of your cast, of your show. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Because that's important. Being one unit, you're going to have much more success with these competitive groups. So we need to build the culture that you want. And you know what? It's not going to change overnight, but culture shifts when we decide to shift it. One rehearsal, one email, one respectful joke at a time. Respectful, careful on the joking. We're in a pretty sensitive society and we don't want to offend someone just because we think we're being funny. Know your audience. And that comes from connecting with the members of your team. Team. Not cast, not crew, team. We are a team. A student who feels valued will show up earlier, stay later, care deeper, and build something bigger than just a cue list. They're going to build excitement for the show. You know what? You get some of these kids included, they're going to tell everybody about your show, and next thing you know, you got a packed house. Or if you're in the marching band, you have that excited kid. I mean, a lot of marching band kids are excited, but genuinely excited. And they go and tell all their friends and they get their friends excited. Guess what happens? The stands don't clear during halftime so that everyone can go to the concession stand to get a drink or some popcorn. They sit there and they watch the band perform. I've been in some programs, I've been part of some schools, or I've even just visited some schools where I've seen almost a buzz begin to build as halftime approaches because the people are there to see the band and not just the football team. And they're just as excited to see the band. And it's not because they're this big high-level championship band. It's just because the community cares about them. I've even been part of programs that were like that, where there were more people in the stands to watch the marching band show than they were for the game. And part of that's because the football team was no good, but that's not the point. When cast and crew see each other as co-creators, not background noise, the whole show levels up. When each section in the band sees each other that way, co-creators of a greater thing, the whole show levels up. We encourage one another to do better. Some of that natural competition within sections is going to remain. We need that. That's going to drive us to improve. But it'll drive us to improve for different things than what we currently are encouraged to try and stand out for. Trying to be that section that knows their music better, more precisely, more musically. That's the competition we want, not the we're better than you. There's no band without a drum line. Band has no heartbeat without a drum line. Band can't make a good melody without trumpets. I mean, it's silly. There's no reason for a tech crew if there's no cast. I mean, that goes both ways. You coexist. Let's level up together. Let's lock arms and do this together. So here's your homework. If you're a tech kid, you get back to school, and that's coming up soon, introduce yourself to someone in the cast. If you're in the cast, thank someone who worked the board. If you're a director, make space, build bridges, say names, share snacks. If you're a wind in the marching band, go make friends with the kid in the pit that's pushing instruments around. If you're a flute, make friends with the trumpet. Does that make sense? Make friends with other sections. Introduce yourself. Use names. And remember those names. It's very important. That's how we're going to end the divide. That's how we raise the bar together. I'm Mike, and this is Soundstage EDU. Thanks for being part of this. And let's keep building something better together as we continue to raise the bar together. Have a great week. or great weekend, whatever time it is. Be good to one another.